All right, ladies and germs, we are live very shortly. I will be joined by DSTYLES and CALIxBOXING of Hispanics Causing Panic. It's panic in the streets, panic in the sky, panic everywhere. They're causing it, goddammit. And we're going to talk about four subjects primarily. I don't want to keep them too long. We're going to talk about four subjects primarily that seem to be dominating headlines for the most part in the sport of boxing. One is the Canelo Alvarez versus Gennady Golovkin trilogy, a potential Canelo versus Bivol rematch, Anthony Joshua hiring Robert Garcia for his corner, whether or not they feel it'll make a difference, because I hear a lot of different opinions about that fight, what people expect, what people want, yada, yada, yada. Also, Joshua versus Usyk 2, what do they expect to see in the second fight? And we're going to go with that. That's where it's at. That's what we're going to be talking about. I've been doing a lot of lives, because for the most part, those are the stories that we're fixated on. That's what we're all more or less waiting for. That trilogy with Golovkin and Canelo, to see what comes after that. And Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk, obviously, that's a very big fight, very big, important fight. And, that's what we're going to go off of right now, because it's kind of a lag right now this month. It's not that there aren't any shows this month. There are shows. But compared to some of the other shows we've seen, there's not as much on the line in a Garcia versus Fortuna fight, for example. This weekend's fight with Mark Magsayo and Ray Vargas, this is going to be Mark's first defense of the WBC title. Yeah, but is it a prelude to Undisputed? We all know the answer. Mark being a PBC guy, in all likelihood, maybe they put him in there with Leo, but that doesn't mean they're going to let them fight the other champions at the weight. So it feels a little bit anticlimactic that it's not really a build-up to an Undisputed fight. It's really just, y'all gonna do y'all thing, and then they probably gonna move whichever one of y'all win. They probably gonna move y'all up in weight. So it's like the cards that are happening this month, they lack a little bit of sizzle. They do lack a little bit of excitement. Not saying that Mark Magsayo versus Ray Vargas can't be an entertaining fight of itself, which is set to go down this weekend. It could turn out to be an entertaining little fight. But because, at least for me, because it's not building towards something bigger, it's lacking something that I'm not really excited about it. Also this weekend, Pulev versus Chisora, good afternoon rematch, good little afternoon fight, but let's not kid ourselves. It's not a fight that, like, you racking your brain trying to figure out what's going to happen. Feel me? What's goody? Old Dirty. What's goody? Daniel, Turian, Ernie in the building, Fantasmo in the building. Que lo que, manín? New Country, Avo Dave in the building. Base the Kid is in the building. And I wanted to get the opinions of several content creators like myself. Normally we have regular guys that come on the panel all the time. But for these particular four subjects, I wanted to get the different opinions of different content creators from around the world. So we're going to the West Coast. We're going to Cali. We're going a little bit Midwest, Mountain Time. We're going to talk to D-Styles because he got the Styles in the D. And we got CALIxBOXING because they be boxing in Cali. That's a fight town. The whole West Coast is more of a fight coast than the East Coast is. It is if you think about it. So we're gonna get them on here. They're gonna be on here shortly. And like I said, I wanted to get the opinions of different content creators. Just to kind of survey the landscape. How do people feel and the varying opinions? Because you guys already know how I feel about certain fights. Needless to say, I talk about them all the time. And you might already know how many of the panelists I usually have on field because, well, they're on all the time. I wanted to get the opinions of different content creators in reference to these fights to gauge the excitement, the predictions, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to have fun with that. And yeah, man. Ya tu sabes, manín. Aaron, que lo que, manín. Michael Giles in the building. You know what I'm saying? CALIxBOXING, yeah, CALIxBOXING's a good dude. Been meaning to get Cali on the channel for a long time. He has a lot of good takes, a lot of well thought out takes when it comes to varying subjects. And yeah, it's gonna be real fun. This is not a debate. These are just opinions we're doing. Debate was yesterday. These are just opinions. Shout out to John Dealey in the building. The one time I can get on, Julius is busy. Hey, man, I'll be around, man. I'm going to do some more lives. Like I said, July is not a jam-packed month of cards where it's cards that you like, oh, yeah. it's not that kind of month. So I'm going to be doing a few more lives in the middle of the day, sometimes in the afternoon. This tomorrow, I'm going to have Ebony Bridges. I just double checked whether or not she's going to be free, and she's still free. She's going to do it. Blonde Bomber's going to come on. We're going to do a Q&A. It's actually been a year since she was last here. I didn't realize how much time had passed since I last had her on the channel. It felt like it was just a few months ago, but it's already been a year. So I'm going to have Ebony Bridges on tomorrow. On Friday, I'm going to do the same thing I'm doing today. A couple of content creators, some you're familiar with, some you might not know. And it's going to be the same thing, same subjects. You know, Canelo versus Golovkin 3, Joshua versus Usyk 2, and peripheral subjects in association with those subjects, which are the anchor. Brown going 1, what it do, Rafa, que lo que, manín? Jason Costa in the building, que lo que, manín? And yeah, man, we out here, man. You know what I'm saying? Got the red shirt out here with the Skelly Boom Boom out here. Really is because they keep giving me a medium fade, and I keep forgetting to tell them I want a high fade, not a medium fade. And I'm a hairy motherfucker. Like, my hair grow mad quick. So it's like, yo, my haircut be done by the end of the week because y'all give me a medium fade. So while I've been in the building, what it do. And yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? Had a funny little debate yesterday. Got some really good sound bites out of it. I got a couple more edits I can do with it. You know, it all depends on how much exposure and how much airtime I want to give DJ. Shout out to DJ for the great sound bites and the comedy, the comedic value of all of that. Very great, very great. And yeah, man, we out here, man. We out here and we doing the shit, yo. We doing the motherfucking shit, yo. And yeah, man. Oh, shit, it's the Intercontinental Halal Champion. Ay! You know what I'm saying? Vale in the building. I'm really interested to see what Robert Garcia has done with AJ, since McCracken never had a game plan in any AJ fight, which is outrageous. I wrestle with that with the idea that he went into all these different fights just off improvisation without a game plan, because that's basically like saying that when you fought Ruiz, you didn't have a game plan in the rematch, and I find that hard to believe. Like, so y'all didn't put that together, that he's gonna box on the outside, stick and move, use the jab, and don't let Andy get close enough to touch him with shots. That wasn't a game plan. You just freestyled that. I struggle with that, you know what I mean? But I'm interested too. That's why we here. You know what I mean? I felt Triple G followed Canelo for too long. If you thought you would win the first fight, why would you fight him again? All right, we got Dragon Style, D Style in the building with the Dragon Styles. Let's get right to it. Everybody, welcome D Styles in the building. Of the Hispanics causing panic. It's panic in the streets, panic in the air, panic.
That's right. Thanks for having me on, brother. I appreciate it.
No problem, bro. For those that don't already follow, y'all follow D Styles and the Hispanics causing panic. We got 4 principal subjects that we're going to dissect in the smaller parts. The first is the Canelo versus Golovkin trilogy, and I want your take on that fight. Is that a fight that you like?
I don't mind the fight. I'll be honest with you, man. At first, when it was first announced, you know, like even before the Bivol fight, they announced he's going to fight him again. I was kind of like, I don't know, like really, he's going to beat Bivol and then he's going to go fight Golovkin after that, like, because I thought he was going to beat Bivol. But since he lost to Bivol, like, who loses a fight then goes fight a unified champion? You know what I mean? Like right after losing. You know, like that. This is a lot of guys. They take soft touches just to get a W under their belt. It's not that bad. And you know what? I was thinking about it, and a lot of people made a lot of good points, and it's true. And even me, like, I hold Canelo to a high standard, and sometimes I'm not fair. Even as a fan of his, I'm not fair to him, because somebody brought the point to me. Yo, like, people are ready to give Errol Spence all types of credit for beating, you know, a 42-year-old Manny Pacquiao in his 8th weight class or 7th weight class, right? But people don't want to give Canelo for beating a 40-year-old unified champion in his 2nd weight class.
That's
like, you know, like,
good point.
And people gave Lucas all types of credit. I'm not even saying they shouldn't have given him credit, but just getting all types of love and credit for beating a smaller, you know, in the 7th division Manny Pacquiao, 42 years old, by the way, very inactive, hadn't fought in almost 2 years. But Canelo's getting. It's one thing to say I'm not a big fan of this fight or whatever. It's one thing to say I would prefer this other fight, but to trash it, to like get out Canelo's case, like, oh, I can't believe we're gonna fight him and he's avoiding the best fights. Like, I don't know about all that. So the fight grew on me. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've accepted it. I'm gonna support the fight, and I think it's a good fight. I think Canelo's gonna beat his ass, but it's a good fight.
In terms of interest, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you scale your interest in this fight?
Well, 0 being not interested at all, and 10 being like super ecstatic. I would say I'll put like a 6.5. You know, like just maybe a 7, something like that.
All right. Shout out to Jamie Bourne. Just shout out to Jamie Bourne, Punch Perfect Boxing. Big up Julius and DSTYLES. Keep up the good work. Appreciate you, Brian. I'm trying to get you on here. I guess the second question is, in association with the fight, I'm actually surprised at how some people think it's going to go down. Some people, you ask them, they think Canelo's going to mutilate Golovkin. Other people feel that, no, you know, Golovkin, he's got a granite chin, yada, yada, yada. Do you see Golovkin getting stopped, and how do you imagine that fight is going to look?
I do believe that if you look at, regardless of how you feel about the first 2 fights, I'm a big believer in momentum. And you could see that the momentum was going towards Canelo, right? Because everyone, even if you think Golovkin won both fights, everyone agrees the second fight was closer, right? Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people that had Golovkin winning the first fight, and they had, Canelo winning the rematch, or they felt the first was a draw, and then they felt the other one was a little closer. Well, whatever it is, I feel like, and then now Golovkin's a little older. He's more hittable. I look at the Derevyanchenko fight where he was hit a lot in that fight. And Derevyanchenko's a very, very poor man's version of Canelo. And he was hit a lot in that fight. In fact, I thought he lost that fight, to be honest with you. And that power jab of his, it's a beautiful jab of Golovkin. I'm not going to take it away. However, he does a hard step, then he throws it. I think Canelo was starting to catch on to the timing of it. He can't avoid all of them because it's a really good jab. But now he's a little older, a little slower, and milliseconds mean everything in boxing. I think Canelo's going to take advantage of that. He's going to see the jab coming. He's going to be countering him. And I also think that while, yes, Gennady Golovkin has a good chin and all that, he could only take so much, bro. Like I think this time Canelo's going to stop him late. I just see it coming. And in the Murata fight, I give him all credit. Murata was working that body early in that fight.
Yes, he was.
And if he was, imagine what Canelo's going to do to the body. And Canelo, by the way, didn't get credit for the body work, in my opinion, especially in the second fight. But this time, it's really going to stand out. Also, I'm a big believer that steel sharpens steel. Canelo has been fighting much higher level of opposition than Gennady Golovkin. He's been more active, right? I'd rather come off, even though it was a loss, a fight where I had to deal with Bivol, right, than a Murata, because one guy's sharper. So I do think the momentum is going towards Canelo. Canelo is still in his prime. I don't care what anybody says. And Gennady Golovkin isn't. And that's going to be a big difference in the fight. He's going to stop him, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, that's how I feel about it. The other thing that has a lot of people's attention about this fight is they see the anger that Canelo is eliciting. Some people don't know what to make of it. Some people don't know if he's just selling a fight. Is he faking the funk? Or does he genuinely dislike Gennady Golovkin? When you see the things that he's saying, what do you make of Canelo saying he doesn't like the motherfucker, X, Y, and Z? What do you make of all that?
I mean, look, I'm going to keep it real. The reason he doesn't like Golovkin is because Golovkin said what he said about the Columbia situation. That's what it is. It all stems down to that. Like, was Canelo really mad that Caleb Plant's his motherfucker? No, he wasn't mad about it. He uses that word. We all know what that was about. Like, if we keep it real, he was pissed off that he was calling him a cheater. You know what I mean? Now, he made it about something else, and I think that's what he's doing here. He's making it about something else, And look, if Canelo feels offended, this guy said that about him, cool. I think Gennady Golovkin knows that. I think Gennady Golovkin does poke at him a little bit. I don't think it's going to matter, but I think that's what it is, to be honest with you. It's about that whole situation. It's just like with Caleb Plant. Like it wasn't the motherfucker. And with Golovkin, it's not because he's nice on the cameras and then he's different behind the scenes. Like how would Canelo know he's different behind the scenes anyway? Like what? Like
exactly.
Does he talk Spanish to him or English to him like that? Like, I just don't get it. That's what it is. If I keep it real.
Now you think about that fight, and I've seen a prevailing opinion that's starting to come out in small circles, but it's starting to come out that there are some people that feel like you feel that he's going to knock Golovkin out, but after that, he not going to fight Bivol. Do you feel that if he goes in there, he knocks Golovkin out, that he will move into that Dimitri Bivol rematch?
Man, that one's a tough one, right? Because I'm kind of... Let me cipher it this way. So let me go two ways. One, if he does and if he doesn't. If he doesn't, look, people are like holding it against him that there's a rematch clause, right? Like, oh, you don't want to rematch him. You don't want any piece of him. Like Beterbiev, after he won his fight, dudes did more videos about how, see, this is why Canelo didn't want to fight him than just the post-fight itself, right? Like people, like they really... I think they're a little too critical on whether or not Canelo stays at 175. That's his fourth division, bro. If he doesn't want to continue campaigning there, that's his prerogative. I personally will not hold it against him. Now, will the ego of Canelo, because if people come from it from a different, like from the wrong place. Like they're like, is Canelo going to have the guts to rematch him again? Like, bro, he had the guts to get in the ring with him. Period. Why wouldn't he rematch him? He's already fought the dude. Like, how are you going to duck a dude you already fought? That makes no sense. So to me, it's like, will Canelo let his ego get in the way? Will he be an aferrado? Will he be stubborn and be like, no, I could beat this dude and I'm going to do it, right? Is he going to be stubborn the way Shane Mosley was with Forrest and with Winky Wright? Sometimes there's a guy you just like, I think most people agree that Bivol is just a bad style for him. He could probably never beat him. The question isn't, does Canelo have the guts to get in the ring? No, the question is Canelo going to be stubborn enough and insist enough to get back in the ring with him? Right? Just because I honestly do believe he wants to get back in the ring with him. I honestly do believe that. There's no doubt in my mind. And even when Bivol was like talking about, oh, I'll go down to 168. And you know how many A-sides would have like totally been like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
Canelo's like, no, I want to fight this dude at 175.
He did.
That's why I want to fight him.
He was insistent that it has to be at light heavyweight or it's not about nothing. Let me read the super chat. Jessica Sala says, Jay, do we get Benavidez versus Plant or Maul this year? When I spoke to Samson a couple of weeks ago, what he told me was they want to do David Benavidez versus David Morrell in the fall. And I haven't heard anything different ever since. So I'm going to assume that that's still the plan. They're still going to do that, which I don't mind, by the way. I think that's a great fight. Jesse also asked Andre, comment on Bivol. Andre's comment on Bivol basic. Do we get that fight? You know the answer to that, bro. Ese tipo está diciendo toda esa maldita mierda. Pero if he's basic, then go up there and beat him because he's fucking basic. No, he's a basic foundation fighter. So go up there and show us how basic he is. Don't schedule a fight with Zach Parker. Go up there and show me he's basic. Because if you can't beat him, then you ain't in no position to talk.
Let me tell you something. Before I lose the start, so Pernell Whitaker was one of the best defensive boxers in the history of boxing. Sat ringside and watched Bivol fight. This was years ago.
Yep.
After that fight, he told him, yo, that defense, perfect. And now he did give him, like he did say, you know, work on that straight right hand. You know what I mean? He gave him some tips. This was years ago. Like, so whose word am I going to take? Sweet Pea Whitaker? Or Andre.
Exactly.
Or the dudes on YouTube that just because he's European, just call him basic.
Exactly. It's like one thing, and you know, and I didn't want to get too into it because it's going to start to feel like I'm being biased, and maybe I am a little bit because it's like, look, I'm a consumer. At its base, I'm just a boxing fan. I've gotten more fights that I wanted from Canelo than you. What does that say about you? You know, you pulled out on Mel. You didn't want to fight Lara. You said he was boring. Now you get upset when people call you boring. So it's like, bro, like really, you just getting a taste of your own medicine. and you don't like it. And I don't blame Andre for everything that happened, but yeah, some of it is your fault, though. Some of it is your fault. So it's just, you know, to me, that was a silly statement, and I stand by my original position. In this sport, you have to beat the man to be the man. Bivol beat the man, so you should be going up there to fight Bivol. Stop worrying about Canelo. He got beat. Go up there and beat Bivol. You know, that's the way it usually is. Comes to Anthony Joshua, Alexander Usyk. Oh, well, no, I don't want to leave Canelo versus Golovkin just yet. How do you imagine that this fight is going to do commercially? Because there's a lot of conversations about which fight is bigger, Crawford versus Spence, which isn't even done, by the way, or you know, Canelo versus Golovkin 3. Which fight, in your opinion, will turn out to be the bigger commercial fight?
I like the way you, because that's still, yeah. Look, there's no doubt that Canelo versus Gennady Golovkin is a bigger commercial fight. There's no doubt about that. I saw somebody tweet. I'm not going to mention names, but you know, this person tweeted out like it's, how is it a bigger fight? That second fight didn't even do good, and I'm like, it did over 1 million buys. It did 23 million at the gate.
I saw the tweet.
That's a higher gate than Fury versus Wilder 2, right? I mean, that's crazy to me, right?
So how do you reconcile the negativity that the fight gets when it seems like, bro, we all know
we're small. Like here's what happens, right? Like we're a small boxing bubble here. Like we're a bunch of hardcores. We're a small bubble, dude. Like there's the most random people that never ask me about boxing are asking me about this fight. Like the most random people, like literally I've been walking around, whether we think it's true or not is irrelevant. Perception is everything, right? There's people that believe Canelo's been, you know, he went up in weight to avoid Golovkin, and he's been avoiding Golovkin. He don't want that work. He's been running from Golovkin. Like that's just how people feel, you know? The YouTubers here maybe don't understand it. Maybe they do. I don't know. And of course, I'll admit a lot of this is anecdotal because it's just, but again, I can't be the only one that has casual people just mentioning this fight. That's what makes it a big fight, right? Like the front row seats are going to be expensive because there's going to be celebrities that want to be front row for this fight.
That's true.
At point blank. And that's just a reality. And Gennady Golovkin isn't that bad of an opponent. I think I heard you say this. If Gennady Golovkin was going to fight Jamal Charlo, nobody would have been saying, "Oh, Jamal, why are you fighting that old man?" Like nobody would have said that.
Exactly.
Nobody would have said that. But now, do I think it's a better fight? Like right now and this year than Crawford Spence? I don't. I think Crawford Spence is a better fight. You know what I mean? If I'm honest. But commercially, yeah, all day. Gennady Golovkin versus Canelo. You don't think the zone has algorithms, bro? You don't think they know? Companies don't spend millions like that. They've been insisting and begging them to fight. Okay,
yeah, for years.
Like they got algorithms and they got shit. They know that this fight's going to make them money.
For years now, it's been approximately 4 years since their last meeting, and the fact that the zone, to your point, they've been insistent every single year they want to do that fight. It's for a reason. You know, they know what they're doing. They're not putting up that kind of money and those resources because it won't make money. They know this is still a big fight, still a very big fight.
Yeah.
So we got Sawab. Shout out to Sawab. We all know Canelo wants the rematch with Bivol, only at 175. Only reason Canelo's fighting Triple G is because it was signed before the Bivol fight. Respect to Canelo, and I have to agree that a lot of guys won't park their car next to Dimitri Bivol's car, much less go to light heavyweight to fight him. So why must Canelo get all this negativity for having lost the fight? We are now joined with our California correspondent, CALIxBOXING.
What's going on?
It's the same line of questioning. I first want to get your reaction to Canelo versus Golovkin 3 as a fight. Is this a fight that you as a boxing fan have a genuine interest in on a scale from 1 to 10?
10. 10. D-Style, how many times have I told you over the past couple of years I've been wanting to see this trilogy? And I can't understand why people haven't wanted to see it. This is a nice little beef we got going on here. I like how they take little shots at each other, sort of these passive-aggressive shots. Golovkin obviously brings value to the table. Ring, every single time a poll is brought up as to who people want to see Canelo fight next when casual fans are involved, it's like astronomically higher Golovkin
than
versus
anything
everybody else.
Than anything else. You could put Charlo, you could put Benavidez, and so long as you make Golovkin an option, that's literally the prevailing option. Literally.
It is. And I just believe, and we have sort of a difference of opinion from what I've seen on Twitter when it comes to this fight. I just believe if these guys fought 10 times, it would be 10 close fights. No matter where they are in their career, no matter what the weight class is, to me, it reminds me of the narrative coming in when it came to Pacquiao versus Marquez 3. If you're on the YTBC back then, 99% of the channels were picking Pacquiao to win decisively. The narrative going in was Pacquiao's a different beast at 147. Marquez is moving up to a weight that's too high for him. Marquez has passed it. And what happened? Most of us had Marquez winning the third fight. And we saw what happened in the fourth fight, which, to your point, if you fight a guy, to y'all's point, when you fight a guy enough and know a guy enough, the chances of you landing that perfect shot rise, right? And it happened with Marquez in the 42nd round between those two guys. So possibly Canelo could do that. I just think that these two guys, the boxing gods made these two guys for each other. And I just see another close decision type of fight.
That's what I wanted to ask you, the aesthetic of the match. I know that we all have very different views on the match. My view is more akin to D-Styles' view. I think that, the Golovkin that we saw 4 years ago is not the Golovkin that we got right now. How do you imagine that fight is going to look when the opening bell rings and both boys are in there? What do you imagine is going to happen?
Round 25. And I'll tell you why. Me and D-Style talked about this a little bit yesterday. Do you know the only fighter in the sport today who lands double-digit jabs per round? Do you know who that guy is?
Is it Golovkin?
Golovkin. Golovkin statistically has the best jab in the sport. He's the only fighter landing over 10 punches per round in the sport. So it's sort of a lazy narrative when it comes to Golovkin. So much is made about his punching power that it overshadows the other things that he does. And what's the one weapon that has given Golovkin issues? So much is made about, and D-Style and I talked about this yesterday as well, the lateral movement. I think that was overplayed. I don't think the lateral movement bothered Canelo as much as people made it out to be. I think it was the jab. Bivol has a great jab. Golovkin has a great jab. I think the two best statistically in the sport, Golovkin and Bivol, when it comes to the jab. They use it in different ways, right? Bivol uses it as sort of a defensive mechanism. Golovkin uses it more of an offensive weapon to stay on his front foot, and he uses it as a power punch. But the jab, Mayweather controlled the pace of the fight with the jab as well. So guys give Canelo issues with the jab. These guys who Plant has good lateral movement. Billy Joe Saunders has good lateral movement. You have guys with good lateral movement who didn't have the jab, and they didn't give Canelo the problems that these guys did.
So do you imagine, because the takes in reference to this fight, and I ask a lot of people about this fight on a regular basis, and there really are wildly different takes. Some guys think, look, Golovkin's going to go in there, he's going to get pasted. Some guys think, no, Golovkin, say what you want, but he's got a granite chin. Do you like his chances in this fight?
To win the fight? I don't, because what were the first 4 rounds? No, but these are, listen, if it's on my scorecard, I'm picking, I said, I like Canelo on my scorecard to win 7-5, maybe 8-4-ish. I think he's going to win a close decision. But here's the thing. There are so many outside factors and variables when it comes to this fight. Golovkin didn't get the benefit of the doubt when it came to a lot of rounds in the first 2 fights. But if you look at Canelo versus Bivol, the first 4 rounds, how were those rounds scored? All 3 judges had all 4 rounds for Canelo.
Oh, for Canelo. Right.
But you and I, you probably had Bivol winning the fight up until that point. I had it 3 rounds to 1 through 4. I don't see how 3 judges could be sitting ringside, watch that fight, and all 3 of them have all 4 rounds for Canelo. I don't see how that's possible.
That's very unusual. I will admit, it's very unusual.
How could you watch Canelo versus Cotto and have 10 rounds scored for Canelo? How could you watch Canelo versus Mayweather and have 6 rounds scored for Canelo? So there's always at least the one judge's scorecard. But after watching Canelo versus Bivol, and I went back and watched the first 4 rounds, and I had it scored the same. I don't understand how you can watch those first 4 rounds, and all 3 judges had all 4 rounds for Canelo. I don't understand it. So I cannot bet on Golovkin beating Canelo in this fight because I think there are too many outside variables going against him.
Hey, Calix, I got a pillow for Gennady Golovkin. He's going to sleep, brother.
But that leads me to my next point. I'm a betting guy. I was just looking at I got an interesting take on the Usyk versus Joshua odds that are moving a lot for later on. But I'm looking at the over-under for Canelo versus Golovkin because if it starts to, as we get close to the fight and more people are starting to pick Canelo by stoppage, I'm expecting the over-under to be priced at 10.5 rounds. And if the over is anywhere close to even odds, I am jumping all over the over because it's not happening, guys. It's not happening. He is not stopping Golovkin.
This is what I see. Feel free to disagree. I see Golovkin taking a knee. I don't see a smooth knockout. I see Golovkin taking a knee. I see him
bend the knee to King Canelo, huh?
I see him taking a knee, but it doesn't end there. What I see is he's going to get hurt by a couple of shots to the body late in the fight. He's going to take a knee, and he's a professional. He knows I'm going to get up at 9 to recover. And then after that, he's going to get swarmed. It's not going to be a cold knockout where Golovkin gets swept under the ring like Roy Jones Jr. did by Tarver. It's going to be a referee stoppage. That's what I see. It's going to be that kind of stoppage.
Let me ask you, though, what are you seeing from Golovkin that makes you think that? Because I don't see and look, fair opinion, because I see a lot of other people saying the same thing, but I just think that Golovkin's demise is greatly exaggerated. I think
let's say the
first couple rounds versus Murata, he started slow. Is that ring rust?
He still beats most other middleweights, you know. I think we all agree on that most of the division, he can beat those guys. So yes, he's 40, but he's still world class. What separates it for me is you don't get faster as you get older. Your timing doesn't get better. It gets worse. Your reflexes don't get better. They get worse. So pinning those elbows to your side to protect from those body shots, Canelo's still fast. This is arguably his best weight. You're not going to be faster than him here. You're not going to be stronger than him here. You're not going to be able to defend against everything he throws at you. So that's where I see the kink in the armor that, yeah, he can still probably take the head punches. He probably still can. But we all know it's the body shots that are going to do him in. And I see a situation where he gets hit to the body, gets hurt to the body, takes maybe 1 or 2 knees, and then, he gets up. Canelo jumps on him. Referee stoppage. He doesn't lose consciousness.
I will say this, though. There was a kind of like a process with Canelo when he was moving up to middleweight. He had to acclimate himself to that weight. He's already more than acclimated. Like, he's already fought at 175, right? So he's acclimated. He's used to the resistance of someone when he punches them and they're bigger dudes. He is used to that now. He may very well have a much easier time with Golovkin now. You know what I mean? Like, there's just a lot to that. And then, humans, just in general, especially males, we bulk up a little bit, naturally in our early 30s. Canelo is he's not that same dude no more.
He's got a lot more tattoos.
Look, he's got more tats. You know what I mean? The power of the tats.
Well, let me counterpoint, though. Why is 168 Canelo's best weight? I would argue. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I would argue it's his best weight, and I would argue it's the reason he took the DAZN deal over the PBC deal. And it could be as well he likes to work with Eddie Hearn more than Al Heyman. Who the hell can blame him for that? But I would argue he's been wanting to go up in weight because he enjoys fighting taller, longer fighters, because once he gets on the inside, he can dig into the body. And Golovkin is taller than Canelo. But what's the difference is I was speaking about Caleb Plant, Billy Joe Saunders. These guys don't have the jab that Golovkin does. So I don't think that works. And yes, Canelo's a different beast at 168. I would agree. He's a better fighter than he was 4 years ago. But I just think stylistically it's the same matchup. It's a guy who knows how to use his length. It's a guy who knows how to use his jab. and he's going to be able to keep Canelo at bay and throw him different looks that these guys who weren't as versatile as Golovkin does not get the credit he deserves for the versatility that he has. He just doesn't.
I agree with that. He's a better boxer. It's kind of like what we saw with Artur Beterbiev. Everybody just assumed that they were both just going to come forward and swing for the fences. And when Artur saw, oh, you want to step into your jab and you want to come forward on me, okay, then I'm going to box. I'm going to pick my shots. I'm going to move around. I'm going to move around lateral a little bit, do a chop and right to counter the jab. Beautiful. And they're like, oh my God, Artur can box. Golovkin already showed that he can box in the second fight. Maybe he doesn't get the credit because he lost. You know, maybe that's how people choose to remember it. But he boxed in that fight, boxed off the back foot, moved lateral a little bit. He did a little bit of everything in that fight. But because he lost, it gets overlooked. Let me read these 2 super chats. New Country says, question for you guys. Canelo beats Triple G, rematches Bivol, loses. What do you see he does next if that happens? Where does he go, and who would be his next opponent? Let's start at the top with DSTYLES.
He stays at 168. I mean, that just means Bivol would beat him. So that'll be like, okay, your run at 175 is over. He wouldn't be the first great that just reached a level that he couldn't quite, a weight class. It happens. Chavez he campaigned at 147. He couldn't win a belt. It is what it is, right? And he's the el gran campeón mexicano. Like Canelo won a belt to 175. If he can't beat Bivol, he can't beat Bivol. It is what it is. He goes back down to 168. He's the king there, and he'll defend there. There's plenty of guys that want to fight him. Okay, well, 168 is where he's at. I think that's what he does. He campaigns at 168 or continues.
I got a different question for Cali because I've been wondering about this. Do you think he should rematch Bivol?
No, and I was about to say that. I saw Reynoso do an interview earlier today where he said 175 is just not our weight, but we'll do it against Bivol. It's almost as if like they're already making the excuse that and look, Bivol has said he'll move down to 168 and fight Canelo, but I don't think they want to do that because they want that built-in excuse just in case if they lose to Bivol. I think what he should do is continue with the initial plan, and I'm just a dude on the internet. Canelo's going to do what he wants to do, but he should fight Golovkin. He should fight Ryder over in the UK because that would be a huge fight over there. Huge fight. And more guys need to be going over there to fight. The fans are different over there. They're different. American fighters need to take note. You can make some real money over in the UK and build a universal fan base. But also, I just think he needs to leave Bivol alone. This was Bivol telling him, look, stay down there. Stay down there. And Beterbiev beating Joe Smith Jr. was like, look, stay down there. Stay down there. And I think Reynoso got the point. But you got to give it to Canelo. He's competitive. He said this can't, that's the first thing he said, this can't end this way. It can't end this way. So I give him credit if he wants to do the rematch. But what I would like him to do, as a fan who just wants to see good fights, and I'd rather see Bivol versus Beterbiev.
I agree.
See that at 175. So what I'd like Canelo to do is take the PBC deal at 168, shut up the PBC fans for once, let them beat up on 160 Charlo, let them beat up on 164 Spence, and then the Benavidez fight to culminate a 3-fight deal would be beautiful. It'd be a great fight.
I've been saying that before I pass it back to these. I've been saying that look, those guys at 68 and 60, they're beatable. Fight those guys. You do at minimum 750 to 800,000 with every single one of those guys, with Charlo, with Benavidez, with Spence if he survives Crawford. I don't think he will, but he's there, right? And it's like you need to leave Bivol alone. I don't see how you win that fight. Like, having watched the fight, I'm like, look, you got to fight the fight that you fought with Jacobs. But even with that, this is not a middleweight you're fighting. This is a light heavyweight, and you can't put a dent in him. Even if you land, this dude took a flush right hand from Joe Smith Jr., didn't lose his footing, didn't go down. You're not putting a dent in that guy. You're not. So stay where you are, beat these guys up, and get money.
And like D-Style said, there's no shame in saying 168 is my division and this is my ceiling. There's no shame in doing that. We're already treating – it's like – I threw out this analogy. I used to be a college basketball fan. So even when Duke would lose in the tournament, they were still viewed as the national champion next year by everybody. They were still the target. Canelo's still the target. All right. And Bivol is a great fighter, but he's not seen still for the boxing public as a guy who he should be getting more credit than he deserves. But the fans, I feel, will be forgiving if Canelo just stays at 168. Those Russians at 175, I'm telling you, don't mess with them. And this was Bivol telling them, look, don't. And this was Better BF beating up on Joe Smith Jr., poor Joe Smith Jr., and saying, look, don't come up here. Don't come up here. We're built different. I'm telling you. On the American fighters.
So the only thing I would disagree with you, Calix, is the notion that Canelo looking for a built-in excuse. That's why he'll fight him at 160. I don't agree with that. I think most A sides would have just done, because he would have weight drained him if he went down to 168.
True.
That's and beat Andre Ward did to Chad. And I'm not going to call it weight drained. Andre Ward accepted the offer that was made. Chad said, I'll come down for you. You come down then. Dimitri said that, but Canelo, which is why I respect the hell out of the guy, regardless of the controversy, whatever's whatever. Fam, he said no. We gonna do it at 175 or we ain't gonna do it. You know what I mean? And I respect that, because these guys, for all the shit they talking, your man don't want to fight him, fam. If he basic, go up, Andre. You fight him. He's basic. He's basic. He's a basic guy. Basic foundation.
Basic dude.
Look, look, when I say these guys are built different, what Boo Andre hasn't fought in how long?
Bro. And
by the way, what's up with the shoulder injury? It's been 2 months, and there's nobody has said anything about the shoulder injury. No follow-up. Charlo, 160 Charlo, pulls out of his fight, and he's drunk clubbing, taking selfies.
So I have something
in the club. That's what I say when these guys are built different. Canelo needs to stay at 168 and beat up on these guys.
So I just want to add to that point really quick. There's this notion, and it's a narrative that's put out there, and the response to all of this always is, well, Canelo's the A side. He's the big name. He gets to pick and choose wherever he wants to fight. Now, I'm not disputing that. But then they say, oh, poor Charlo and Andre, they got no control. They don't have a say. They want all the big fights, but nobody will do it. What a coincidence that it's only the weight classes where Canelo's campaigning at that none of these dudes are fighting each other. But then you go to other weight classes, you go to 115, they're all fighting each other. Bam Rodriguez he's not a big household name, yet he somehow he's fighting these veteran fighters, beating them. Okay, you got old Nonito Donaire he gets to fight with anyway. Like all these little dudes, like at 140, Prograis and Josh Cherry, there weren't these big, like Prograis wasn't this big household name, but he got an undisputed fight. Devin Haney, he got to fight for undisputed. Like all these fights, like they all happen, right?
Mira, no te la pierdas. El ejemplo por la vaina de Charlo y la vaina de Andre. Danny Jacobs got the fucking fight, my guy. I don't want to hear it. Danny did what the fuck and Danny used to be a PBC fighter. He was over there, but he got the fucking Golovkin fight. He got the fucking Canelo fight. So it's not that, oh, poor Charlo, he can't. Bullshit, my guy. Bullshit. It's not that. You don't want to fight nobody. Carlos Adames is on your side of the street. He's supposed to be your mandatory. Who was you going to fight? Maciej, Suzuki. You don't want to fight nobody. You don't want to fight Andre. You keep playing games with Golovkin that you know you ain't going to win. That man don't give a fuck about you, fam. You haven't realized it's been 3 years. That man don't give a fuck about you. Fight Andre. That's the next best thing. You don't want to do that. Well, let me tell you something. Beggars cannot be choosy. You don't have the luxury of options. You don't. Those are your options. You don't want to use them? Cool. You 32, fam. If you retire today, boxing, and it won't miss you, you know? It won't. I'll watch Bam. Bam is more exciting anyway. Bam is the shit. The shit.
Bam and Shakur.
That motherfucker's going to be like, that little motherfucker is going to be a superstar. Because I'm like, bro, I ain't seen feet like that since Lomachenko. I ain't seen feet like that. Like, all that fly shit is beautiful.
He reminds you of 126 Lomachenko. And yes. Shakur is about his business too. Shakur is saying, I want to fight everybody at 130. I'm not ready to move up to 135. I want to become undisputed. He's supposed to be fighting Consecao after the Valdez fight, after fighting Herring. The Nakathila fight is aging better. I put out a top 12 pound for pound American fighter list, and almost all the list is guys in their 20s coming up. And guys like Jamal and Boo Boo Andre are getting kicked out because they're simply not doing anything. Like you said, if
there's
those
nothing
guys
in the
retire tomorrow,
resumes.
if they retire tomorrow, is anybody going to miss them?
No.
Look, man, I saw like I was seeing some shit out there about Canelo, he's holding the 168 division back, right? Because all these dudes were just they were all fighting each other before Canelo was even in the picture, right? They were all fighting each other. It was just like, and then Canelo came around, he ruined everything, right? It's a fantasy world, bro. These guys, the reason it's not, they're waiting for the payday. They just want to get, like, that's why they don't want to risk losing the payday by fighting each other, you know? And I've always said this, it's not about like I want Canelo to fight everybody too, right? They should all be fighting each other, right? But I don't know, for some reason, these guys get a pass because they're treated like victims. Like, but they want to fight the best, but they don't get the fights. They're begging and they don't get it. Like, it's just not true.
Listen. The PBC has had at least 2 alphabet titles on their side of the street as far back as 2016, 2017, maybe even before that, because when Benavidez first won the green belt, it was about 2017. James DeGale, a PBC fighter, he had the IBF, you know, and y'all made the Jack fight. Jack had the WBC, DeGale had the IBF. Y'all didn't do a rematch. Y'all left it at a draw, and fuck it. And then Benavidez ends up with the green belt. Okay, cool. Then you got Caleb Plant. Did you make that fight? No. Samson is on camera saying, no, we're not going to make that fight. We want to do 2, 3 more. All right, then. So if you're not or haven't been getting the fights, it's put simply because you don't fucking want them. You know, you're not Orphan Annie. You're not a victim. You know, you could have been made these fucking fights. I said it in 2019 before COVID shut everything down. Canelo's going to go up there. He's going to fight Sergey. He's not staying up there. He's not a fucking light heavyweight. He's going to come back down. One of you guys needs to be unified by the time he comes down, because if you're not, you're at his mercy. That's exactly what happened. You were at his mercy. You're still at his mercy. I don't know that he ever fights Benavidez, to be honest with you. I don't know if he's going to do that. I love the fight. Think it's a great fight, winnable fight. But if they make it a thing to where to what they did with Plant, to where, you got to come with us for that fight. You got to be, I don't know about all that, fam. That's what'll fuck it up. They're like, Canelo's not a guy that you're going to tell him, yeah, you got to do. All right, motherfucker. All right, motherfucker. Now, Cali, I asked D-Styles about this before. There's a lot of debates about which fight is the bigger fight, Spencer versus Crawford or Canelo versus Golovkin 3. In your opinion, which is the quote-unquote bigger fight?
Bigger fight, Canelo versus Golovkin 3. No doubt. There's no doubt. And you're going to see that with what the money generates as far as ticket value. I'm already pricing because I'm going out there for the fight. And it's a tough ticket. It's a tough draw. And look, Crawford versus Spence is going to do well as well. And you can make the argument. I would make the argument it's the more meaningful fight. It's the better, more pure fight for boxing fans. But economically, I wouldn't agree with Eddie Hearn that it's 10 times bigger. I think he's exaggerating there. But it's going to do better pay-per-view numbers. They can call it the dead zone all they want. But I love what the zone's doing right now. They've given me performance of the year so far. They've given me fight of the year. They've given me the fighter of the year. They've given me the 2 best knockouts of the year so far with Lee Wood and Joe Cordina.
Definitely.
They're giving me consistently good fights from minimum weight up to heavyweight. They're giving me female fights. They're giving me pretty much everything across the board. So this fight, I don't care what network it's on, what app, it's going to be the bigger fight. Period. It's the bigger fight. Like this isn't even debatable to me. Like,
I mean, I don't think it is either. It's just the prevalence of arguments, the prevalence of polls, the proliferation of videos from content creators. And it surprises me because I'm like, fam, this is not a debate. This dude sold 600 and change with Bivol. What the fuck do you think he's going to do with Golovkin?
It might be 10 times bigger, though, believe it or not. Because, like, for example, if you count the 20 million watching it in Mexico alone, I don't like it might be 10 times bigger worldwide.
Manin, eso es lo que yo estoy diciendo, que el americano, they don't think about the world. Like, literally, like, nah, y'all don't think about the world. What he did 16 million, I believe. It was either the Saunders fight or it was the Saunders fight or the Plant fight in Mexico. 16 million people watched that fucking fight.
I think that was Saunders.
That was Saunders. What do you think he's going to do with this fucking guy for a third time? I'm not saying that I'm super excited about it, but just being honest, I know how these things work. I said it about Con and Brooke. Everybody said, yeah, they old. The night of the fight, them fucking Brits was watching that shit. The night of the fight, they fucking went because it's that effect. And look, Canelo fighting Golovkin again tonight. Word, buy that shit. Because it's $80, fam. What the fuck? Like, I got jeans that cost more than that. Of course you're going to buy the fucking fight.
It's fear of missing out, right? And we're 2.5 months out.
Exactly. It's like it's going to be a big fight. Now, the next thing I want to talk to you guys about, I'm going to start with DSTYLES. We know Anthony Joshua. He hired Robert Garcia. Does it have an effect?
Oh man, where do I start? Robert Garcia, he's been quoted saying he don't really train heavyweights. It's a different sport. He has trained heavyweights, but not at this level. And then even if he was like, dude, you could get Emmanuel Stewart from the grave to train Anthony Joshua. Even Vladimir Klitschko lost his very first fight under Emmanuel Stewart. And I don't really remember, but I do believe he had more time to work with him than this guy's going to have to work with Garcia. Garcia, he's really good at strategy, but the reality is heavyweights are just different, bro. It's just the margin of error. It's a lot smaller than in the other weight classes. You know what I mean? So I don't know what he's going to really do for AJ. I mean, I guess he could come up with a game plan, maybe be a big motivator or something, maybe keep it real with him in the corner or something. I don't know, but I just like the odds are not in Joshua's favor. They're just not.
Cali, do you think it's going to matter that he's enlisted? Well, what's your interpretation of him getting Robert in his corner? What do you think he's got Robert there for specifically? To change what and do what?
Well, he said at the beginning when he came to America right after the fight to shop for trainers, what did he say? He's saying, I want an American trainer who's going to bring out the dog in me. So that tells you what type of fight he wants to fight. He wants to be more aggressive. So it's going to have some sort of impact on the fight. I just think eventually, as the fight goes on, it's going to have a negative impact for him because Usyk is a master at finding those openings. And Joshua being more aggressive is going to present more openings. But here's what I'll say, though, that's interesting. And I follow the odds. And I don't understand this. The last time I've seen this was with Pacquiao versus Spence as a lead up to that fight. If you remember that, Pacquiao opened up as a plus 450 underdog. And then it got all the way, after a couple of weeks, it got all the way down to plus 200, which it was more than cut in half. So I'm saying to myself, something has to be going on in the training camp. We know odds makers have people embedded in these training camps. They get inside information that we're not privy to. And what happens? A day or two later, Spence pulls out of the fight due to an eye injury. So when I see Joshua plus 290 last week, and now I see today Joshua plus 170, which means it's getting closer to toss-up territory, that tells me that either it's a market correction, but that's a pretty big market correction. I think that Joshua is likely, and this is just a guess, just a theory, he's likely looking really good in his training camp. So people can read into that what they want, but that's a pretty big move this far out. Anytime the line moves that far, this far out, that's sharp. That's what's called sharp money. That's smart bettors.
And that's compelling because it could be that Joshua's looking good. Could be Usyk's not. It's heavyweight boxing. And that's one thing that I like to maintain, that heavyweight boxing is different than any other division. It really is different. The damnedest shit happens. These styles, if you had to put, let's say 70-30, 60-40, 50-50. What are his chances of doing the unthinkable and winning this fight? Because nobody's really giving him a shot.
You know what? I actually give him, even if it was still with McCracken, I'll be around the same, to be honest, but I do give him like a 35% chance. I do, because I'll tell you what, if Deontay Wilder was not in this division, Anthony Joshua would be known as the puncher of this division.
That's a fair point.
And like he could turn the fight around. And I'll just let people know this. Even though he lost how he lost, if you look closely, look at Usyk's face. Look at that cut. a couple more punches on that cut, they probably stop this. It's probably a TKO victory for Joshua.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
So we know he could cut him. We know, like, you know what I mean? We know he could punch. Now I'm going to favor Usyk, obviously, right? But I mean, you have to, and it's a heavyweight division, and he's one of the hardest punchers in the division. On top of that, and Usyk's not the biggest heavyweight, so I mean, you got to factor all that in, like 35%, which is actually pretty solid, right? To win.
Cali, you think about this fight and what he wants to do. What's the probability of victory?
75-25, Usyk favored, and the reason being, I do think Garcia is going to have an impact early in the fight because Joshua is going to come out more aggressive. I think that's the game plan here. But although he'll likely have better moments early in the fight, I think it's going to backfire on him at some point. Once you get hit, you revert back to your same style, especially when you're with the trainer only one fight.
That's
so
true.
I think that's what's going to happen here. And with Usyk, I saw Usyk get caught with flush shot after flush shot against Joshua, and guess what he did? He walked right through it. And he continued with his boxing, and he continued with his lateral movement. And I bring up the jab again, is being the shorter fighter, he was still really good with the jab against Joshua. And Usyk is one of the best jabbers in the sport. And it's underlooked because of everything else he does great. It's the same thing we said about Golovkin, Bivol, in a way, another guy, top 5 statistically when it comes to the jab. Usyk is cut from that cloth too. He's good at everything. I can't stress enough, like, for a guy to be under 20 fights in his career, and I understand the amateur background, but he has consolidated 7 of the 8 major belts in the 2 weight classes he's competed in less than 20 fights.
On the road.
To that point, Kelly, first let me read the super chat. Ronnie Boy says, yeah, send him in the 7th or via corner stoppage. Close this book already. I dig it, Ronnie. I dig it. That's how I got motherfucking shit. You hear a lot of what people are saying about Usyk. I heard a soundbite from Johnny Nelson. He called the guy an average southpaw. What do you think about that, Cali? Is how off base is a comment like that?
It's way off base. It's as off base as Tyson Fury calling him the blown up middleweight.
Yeah.
Blown up middleweights. Average southpaws don't do what Usyk has done. He's given up a lot of weight, and he's boxing circles around these guys. So, no, if you have Usyk number 1 pound for pound, I have in a way, but I think Usyk belongs anywhere 1, 2, or 3, anywhere there, and it's because of what he's done, and he's been aggressive in his career. He's fought quality opposition, and if you look at the CompuBox stats, he's at the top of pretty much everything, and that's with quality competition. So the guy is the real deal. And people can still keep sleeping on him all they want, but good luck with that.
DSTYLES, is he the average southpaw in your opinion? Does the average southpaw win every belt he's ever won on the road?
If that's what an average southpaw does, imagine if he wasn't an average southpaw. Like, Jesus Christ. Look, all I know is this, man. The answer is no. Of course he's not. But he's a gold medalist. He's a 2-division champion, undisputed in 1, unified 3. Okay, and in the other one, no, that's not. If that's what average southpaws do, I want to see an average of southpaws doing that. It should be an average of them doing this shit. You know what I mean? So that's all I got to say about that. Usyk is a road warrior, man. He goes to the road, right? And he takes these belts. This is a real deal.
The final question, because this is the ultimate fallout from this. If everybody's prediction sticks and Usyk beats this guy the same as or worse than he did the last time, do you feel in your heart of hearts that Fury will fight him, Cali?
He's such a question mark, right? He's a big walking 6'9" question mark, like 6'8" question, 260-pound question mark. Like, no, there's no telling what Fury is going to do, but I think eventually there's going to be so much money tied into this fight. Look, they're splitting $80 million for this fight, right? So just imagine what Tyson Fury brings to the table. And you can still argue that Anthony Joshua may be a bigger star than Tyson Fury, but Tyson Fury, for all the belts against either one of these guys, he's got to come back into the table. And I just keep going back to the Joe Rogan interview with Tyson Fury years ago. He said the toughest fight to date is USS Cunningham. And I think that's the whole reason we've got this. If Joshua would have beaten Usyk, no rematch clause, I think we'd be talking about undisputed fight right now between Fury and Joshua. Usyk presents a lot of problems stylistically to Tyson Fury. Ultimately, I think Tyson Fury comes out on top of this whole equation, but Usyk is a problem, man. And I hear people saying, oh, 6'2" is not too small. When's the last time we've seen a cruiserweight come up and sustainably win at heavyweight?
Yeah. Against a guy like Fury, who's unusual, even as far as heavyweights go. D-Styles, do you feel that Fury has an aversion to an Usyk fight as opposed to a Joshua fight?
Look, Fury, I'm a believer in energy, right? He has a different energy when it comes to Usyk, okay? He's been quoted saying, I'm not going to fight that guy. He's from the eastern part of the world. A world championship, it's a Western belt. Like, no, it's called the World Championship. No, not the Western Championship. You know what I mean? Like, it's the World Championship, Fury. You know what I mean? It's not. It's the whole world, the whole planet. Like, it's not like the Western part of the world belt. You know, but he just. I'm not sure what it means. I just know he acts different when it comes to Usyk. You know, like there's a different energy when it comes to it. And I don't know if it's, he doesn't think it's a big enough fight, or like, I'm pretty sure they're going to give him some guaranteed money, so that's not going to matter. You know what I mean? He fought Dillian White. Like, you know, you could fight Usyk. It's you fought Wallin. You know what I mean? You fought Schwartz. You could fight Usyk. It's not about the name. It's about the risk. Maybe there's a risk reward thing, but he's already gone out of his way to say, well, I've already been undisputed. I've held all the belts. So, well, you got to hold them all at the same time.
Yes.
You know, Thanos couldn't snap his fingers because he once held these one stone, and then now he has the other stone. You know what I mean?
That is the best parallel I have ever fucking heard in reference.
Why didn't it work? Well, you don't have the life stone. But I had it one time. I had it last year. No, it don't work, dude. All right? So that's it. Now, look, I get it, because somebody put in the chat, hey, 225 pounds ain't small. He's 6'4". Okay, and I think CALIX will appreciate this. Like, there's dudes that are called small forwards in the NBA, but they're like big dudes, like, compared to us. You know what I mean? Like I'm comparing them to that big bear called Tyson Fury, and I'm comparing him to Joshua. Like, you know what I mean? We're comparing him to Joe Joyce. He's small compared to them, not to your average dude. Like, you know what I mean? He's not a small dude, but when we say he's a small heavyweight, you know, that's all I mean.
Yeah. I mean, that was great. I'm glad to have had you guys on. Let everybody know where they can find you.
So look, D-Style Boxing, just like that, man. You can find me there. If you like what I have to say, you could feel free to subscribe if you want. Do a roundtable every Thursday, so you guys can tune into that every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern time.
Cali, take it away.
CALIxBOXING 2.0. That's CALIX. That's not CALIX. I'm not from Cali. I'm from the God's country, Louisiana. But CALIxBOXING 2.0 here on Twitter, CALIX, and CALIxBOXING.com as well, and CALIxBOXING2 at CALIxBOXING2 on Twitter.
Gentlemen, very thankful for your time. Thankful to have you guys on. Look forward to having you back. This has been the big thing, because we thinking about shit out here. All right? Always a pleasure.
Appreciate you.